What do you want? What is it? You want gnomes? What? You want gnomes outside? Well, okay.
Okay, you start by just grabbing the mesh like this, just keeping a little bit on the end, and you create your own loop like this. Sometimes it's just awkward. And then just flip it around like that. You can move your mesh over here, and then you've got your first tail, and then just hold it real tight through there. And then this is where you start making your loops for the bow. And you just make your first one there and hold it real tight there, like that. You just have to keep holding it like that. And then you make your next loop like that. And that's the goal, is to make about 4 loops on either side. And then move it this way to make the next loop on that side. Just keep it real tight there in the center. This mesh is kind of hard to work with because it wants to go up, work against itself, but make your next loop that way. And then a loop on this side.
So all you're doing is making big loops and bunching them together in the center.
Yes, and holding them very tight in the center. And then making one on this side. So you're really just going to keep making loops until you run out of mesh. And the goal was, like I said, just to hold it really tight there in the center. So depending on how big your loops are, will depend on how many you get on each side. This mesh will stick to itself, it'll stick to your clothes. And then we're starting to get down to the end of the roll. So when we get to the end of the roll, it'll be taped like that. Get the tape off of there. So you got about enough to make a loop on this side, and then a loop on this side. And then when you've run out of mesh, then you're going to take your wire
This is just floor wire.
Yes, floor wire. And I would probably buy a little bit thicker wire than what I bought this time. Or a little bit thicker, I think, would be good to work with this mesh. And just put it in your loop and then turn your bow upside down like this. And bring your wire up underneath it. And then you can just kind of lay it down. And then the goal is to get that wire absolutely as tight as you possibly can under there. So you want to make that wire, start twisting it and making it just as tight, if you can see that, as you possibly can. And you start twisting it, and you want to twist it as many times as you can so that you can use this wire to connect it to the next piece.
So the roll was 30 foot long. We cut 15 foot off, and we're going to make 2 of these and then put them together.
Correct. So this is your first one. And so what you want to do is start spreading out the mesh like that. Because once you get it spread out, then that makes it bigger. And then when you get 2 of them, you'll put the 2 together, and this is what you'll end up with. That's 2 put together. And of course they're going to be at the top of the tree, so they don't have to be perfect.
All right, so you guys heard Molly's demands. Molly wants gnomes, and what Molly wants, Molly generally gets. So we have these big trees. You see this big tree right here, these big tall evergreen trees, and the one behind me. I got one over here. Especially these are so tall, I can't even get lights on them. They're really high up there. They're just a real pain to do anything with, to decorate. House looks kind of plain without them being decorated. So I'm going to show you how to turn these things into gnomes. We saw this picture on Pinterest a few weeks ago, and actually we saw it last year and said we're going to have to do that next year. Forgot about it, and then a couple weeks ago somebody posted it again. So I'm going to set up the camera here and show you how to turn these trees into gnomes for the holidays. All right, so it's nice and sunny out here today, and so we have these half round styrofoam balls that are hollow inside. Tammy picked these up, I think at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and she painted them as you saw there in the video. We mixed some white and pink paint to get like a nice soft pink color there. She used the mesh, deco mesh stuff. This came on like a wide roll that was like 30 feet long, and she used 2 pieces. She took the whole roll, cut it in half, made one big bunch of bow, used the other half to make a second piece, and then put it together. That way it's easier to work with and manage. You saw that there in the video, and this will go up on the top of the tree. And the way we're going to fasten this is I'm going to take a piece of twine and just a little piece of duct tape and tape it to the center, and then run it into the tree, kind of wrap it around and tie it off. That'll hold this nose onto the tree. So we'll get started here, and you can see what I'm going to do. So I've just got some twine here, and I'm going to just tie it into a loop so that it doesn't come off after I tape it on the inside. So we'll just take a piece of duct tape, put it around the loop, put it inside in the middle like that. And that should hold the nose on. So I just ran the twine inside the tree, wrapped it around a couple of times, tied it in a knot to hold that in place. And now we have a roll of the same type of mesh we used on the bow, except this is not the sparkly kind. This is just plain red mesh. And we're just going to wrap it around. Okay, so I just wrapped that around twice, and then in the back I just kind of looped it around itself and tied it in a knot where you can't see it to hold it on. Now for the beard, we're going to use these door curtains. These are like shredded plastic. We got these at Party City. You can get them on Amazon. Pretty much any kind of party type supplies should have these. And they are kind of a mess to get unwound here, so you got to be a little careful. And as you can see, they're kind of thin, so if you double them up, it'll give you a nice thicker opacity for the beard. And they're really long, they're like 8 feet long, so we're going to trim them off at the bottom. And they have these loops at the top to run a string through them, so we'll do that with our twine. And I just doubled them up and matched the eye holes up. Now, as you can see, the beard isn't quite white enough, I guess. You can see through it a little bit, it's a little bit thin. So I'm going to take some clear packing tape. I got to trim it off anyway. I'm going to put it across the bottom to hold it together, and then I'm going to cut it off and then move it up and layer it. Now Tammy used floral wire to put this together, so again, just putting a piece of twine and attaching to that, we're going to use that to fix to the top of the tree. Thank you. Alright, so now we're going to tackle the big tree. Might be a little challenging to get the little thing up on the very top, but we'll see what we can do with it here. And that tree's a little bit more open in the back because it's against the house. It's not full all the way around, so it's easy to get back there and tie things to. So this still looks a little thin to me, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, put a piece of packing tape across it and cut it, then move it up and layer it like I did the first one. So as you can see, there's no set plan to this, as long as your finished product looks like a gnome. Not gonna lie, that one was a lot more of a challenge to get the little bow up on the very top of it. Had to go lean out the window to do it. Don't even know if I'll be able to get the one on this one. It's way above the roof line. We'll see what we can do with it. And then when I'm finished, I'll give you a shot of the whole thing. All right, so here's the final product. Gnome number 1, gnome number 2. Had to get up and hang out that window to put the little topper on his hat. And then over here is gnome number 3. I was unable to put the little top on that one. That one's pretty far up there. Didn't have a ladder tall enough and didn't feel like getting on the roof. I didn't want to die today. So that one was a little more challenging too, because the tree is bigger, so it's kind of loose. So every time I wrapped something around and pulled it tight, it just kind of wanted to sink into the tree, but was able to work with it and get it to look pretty decent. So there are the gnomes that Molly requested. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below the video.